Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rin. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we're going to finish this little mini series where I am talking about my art process from start to finish. And since we have already done the video on the sketching process, today we're going to talk about how I like to color my art. So I want to start with talking about the watercolors I use. I have just a couple palettes because I'm cheap, and sometimes I think having too many options is overwhelming. Sometimes it's really helpful, so I think that's just kind of a personal preference. But for me personally, I have two Prima marketing color palettes. One is the complexion and one is the vintage pastels. I of course did use the complexion palette for all the skin tones in this piece. The vintage pastels palette, I did not use it all on this page, but if that is something you would be interested in seeing, I have used it in so many of my other videos. There's a good chance if you click on a different video of mine, I probably used some of the colors off of that palette. And then I also have a very old Winsor & Newton palette my mom gave me that's just like basics, really good for color mixing. And then I also have my Daniel Smith watercolor sample page. All of these will be linked in the description below if you are interested in any of them. I will say I don't know how much the Daniel Smith watercolor page is going for now, but if you are looking for a really good deal on watercolors, I highly would recommend it because I've had it for quite a while and I haven't ran out of any of the little sample dots, and they are all professional grade watercolors, so they're really nice to see if you are interested in upgrading your watercolors, or if you're just getting into watercolors and you want a large selection of colors. Highly recommend it. It is so useful to me personally. So I usually start off with the skin tone as you saw, and then I just am still learning how to work with watercolors myself. I've actually only really been painting since I started my YouTube channel, so not really that long, and I still have a lot to learn. But one of the things I have learned is, well, two things. One is to start from light to dark, so that way, because obviously watercolor isn't the most forgiving, though I have heard that if you want to take watercolor off of a page after it's already dried, you can use a magic eraser to get it up, I guess. I have not personally tried that, but if you're interested in trying that, that's something that maybe works. I don't know. I saw that on a TikTok short or something. And so work light to dark. And then the other one is to do layers. Put a layer down, let it dry, do another layer, let it dry, do another layer, and build up the pigment until it's as dark as you would like it to be. So in saying that, when I do the skin tone on the face, I usually will start with that one layer and then start building up shadows under the hairline, anywhere that I put shadows down with my pencil. Oh, I also want to say, I know a lot of people like to lighten their pencil lines before they start painting. I personally don't do that because I am going to go back and line all of my art with pencil or ink in the long run, so it's going to get covered. But I also just kind of like that sketchiness under the actual art. Another thing, when I am doing the blush on the skin, I just take some of whatever color I use for skin tone and then some pink or red and mix those two colors together and use that for blush, because I've realized it just blends together a lot better that way. And here I accidentally painted a spot that was supposed to be white. I accidentally used this purple magenta color on it, and so I just took a clean brush with water on it, a little bit of water on it, and I went back over that and tried to pick up some of the pigment, and it picked it up a little bit. So that's just a good example. If you put paint down where you didn't mean to, sometimes you can get it to pick up a little bit if you get to it fast enough, but generally speaking, you're still going to have some of that pigment down on your paper. And then also, because this sketchbook, I have good opinions about the sketchbook, but for me personally, because I do mostly watercolor art, this paper is not designed to really hold up super well with watercolor. so it does start to pill a little bit and starts disintegrating if I do too much water on it. So on this side, I put down this color. I wanted her shirt to be kind of an orange, and it was too close to her skin tone for me, so I ended up going over it with this yellow, and that ended up working out really well. I think you can still see some of that orange a little bit under there, but it actually just ended up giving it more dimension. I also think, though, that's a good example of going light to dark, because that orange was light enough that I was able to cover it still with the yellow. Also, it probably would have been, I wouldn't have run into that problem if I would have done like a little like swatch page where I swatched all my colors that I was intending to use for this piece at the start of this, but I'm lazy and I didn't do that. But that is a really good tip if you are like, you know, to make a little color study of just swatches to see if you like all your colors together and how they'll all go together. And then on to lining. If you've been watching me since the start of my channel, you know I don't like using ink liners. They stress me out so much. So my process for doing that is, for doing ink or colored pencil, is pretty much the same thing. So I figured I'm just going to do colored pencil for this. So generally speaking, I always use either blue, purple, or pink to line my art, whether I'm doing that with ink or colored pencil. So I'll pick primary color I want to use, in this case blue, and then the other two colors I always go back in and just like randomly will line something over with one of those colors. I'll put a streak, like some of that in the hair, just to add some more pops of color somewhere. I just think it's a really fun way of adding more color to the piece. And then, of course, for highlights, I always use my Posca pen. I've talked about my Posca pen so many times. I love it. Once this one runs out, I will definitely be repurchasing it again because it's just so useful and so helpful. I love my Posca pen. Highly, highly, highly recommend a white Posca pen if you are looking for something to do highlights on your art with. Also, I wanted to talk real quick about color mixing. I'm not great at color mixing, but I know if that's something you struggle with as well, I know there are tons of great color mixing charts online that are super useful if you are looking to get better at that, or you only have a couple watercolors and you need to mix things. There's a bunch of really good guides online that can show you how to mix skin tones or whatever color you need. I'm sure there is a guide to know how to mix it. Also, when I'm lining is usually when I realize I missed something in my painting process. So as you saw, I went back and painted her necklace and her belt buckle again for the first time, because I missed them when I was painting. That's just really common for me. I don't know. I miss stuff. So actually the tip of this Posca pen fell off the other day and I was kind of heartbroken. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope it's not ruined. But as you can see, it's not. It's still working great. So even when you might think it's falling apart, didn't fall apart. Also, I should have done that plaid on the skirt before I lined everything, because I went back over and relined it. I also do use purple colored pencil usually to go over my shading, just because this paper can't take a super huge amount of layering. So the purple just helps me get some more depth and shadow without destroying my paper. The colored pencil lays really nice on top of the watercolors. But anyway, this is how it turned out. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions about any of the coloring process, please leave it in a comment down below. I will respond, or if it's too complicated for me to write it out in text, I will make a little video about it or talk about it in the next video. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Remember to be kind and stay cozy. Bye!